Hello again, welcome to another edition of Crop Life Retail Week. Paul Schrimpf here again, back with Eric Sfiligoj during a very brief absence from our diversion into specialty crops.
Yes, but our thanks to Christina Herrick for sitting in for me last week to talk to Paul and give us some insights into areas that we don't necessarily look at that often.
That's true. Sometimes they're hard to say.
That's true.
so yeah, I was in Washington, D.C. a couple days this week. I went to a meeting of the Coalition for Advanced Precision Agriculture, which is interesting.
Did you say our buddy Jay there?
Saw Jay, yeah.
Jay Vroom for those in the audience.
On his road to retirement this year. No information on who his replacement is. I think they're keeping him completely in the dark. So we don't exactly know what's going to happen there. But hopefully the announcement will come.
Probably by their annual meeting, I would imagine, in September. Yeah.
Introduce the new person. But the one interesting thing out of that was the USDA came and did a brief presentation about some of the research that they're doing into precision ag techniques, which is great because their research is excruciatingly old right now. I think they're trying to figure out, the use of, I think in particular, nitrogen and nutrient management, but there's other things as well. They're just trying to get research on what the usage is, why they're using it, and so forth. So eventually we'll get hopefully some good numbers out of them. They did present some of the preliminary stuff, but that's good. I mean, I think every time we try to go back and look at some of the national numbers, I mean, they're just so old that they're almost irrelevant at this point, if not completely irrelevant. So we'll see some more things coming out of USDA on research on that front. Got a chance to visit with a couple of associations while I was there. We met with the Farm Bureau, and I talked to Mace Thornton there and Will Roger, and just talked about the Farm Bill and some things that are going on. Described the Farm Bill kind of as an evolution more than a revolution from the standpoint of what the row crops, especially what the row crops are going through. SNAP is really the big focus. The things that they're concerned about, or at least watching and trying to figure out exactly how to communicate with regulators about, I think, is conservation, and trying to understand that conservation is kind of it's a pretty complex and nuanced thing, where you've got the government providing spending in a way that benefits the environment, benefits the farmer. I mean, it's really a positive program. At the same time, you have to defend it enough that are the benefits of conservation really paying off in environmental protection? And I think that's probably ties into what USDA is trying to do with research, is showing how all these practices are actually providing a benefit to the environment, because there's always a push to want to cut, cut things, and conservation seems like pretty ripe fruit, but at the same time it's really beneficial. It's a program that's working very effectively. So there was that was on the discussion on the table.
Anything about the tariff issue?
Yeah, they're watching it. I was meeting with the equipment manufacturers. That was where I was going to go next. I think they're happy that there's got kind of another month to talk about the effect of this from the Associated Equipment Manufacturers. From their perspective, is obviously the steel tariffs can increase prices and so forth. So there's kind of another month to talk about what the impact will be on companies here in the States, beyond what would seem to be on paper a good thing to do. And then we also talked a little bit about infrastructure pertaining to broadband, and the broadband money is there, and now the big challenge is, now that they've caught this thing, what do they do with the money? It's fiscal 18 spending, so it's money that has to be spent this year, but it's a challenge to figure out exactly how to implement that, how to make that work. There was some talk about using rural electric cooperatives to get this money out, to have it coordinated that way. But different states have different laws about about what those folks are allowed to do, which I have no idea whether it's true or not. I would assume that the AT&Ts and Verizons of the world might have had influence in legislating that as they made their own investments in rural America. But at the same time, they haven't built out that infrastructure to the extent that a lot of farmers and rural businesses can use it. So it's like, okay, do something about it, or let the government come in somehow and make this happen. So there's a lot to be worked out.
That sounds like it'll be a really interesting debate going forward. Yeah.
But the money's there, and I think that could be a huge part of the battle to get the funding for it. So. Yeah, those are a few interesting tidbits. Did say hi to Darren over at the ARA, and we talked a little bit about what's going on there. Nothing wildly crazy, but they're planning for the conferences moving forward for the annual meeting in December, and hopefully we'll continue to be a part of that as well. So good, good couple days of just chatting with people, seeing what's going on.
All right. Well, Paul, while you were out, one thing you did miss, one of our favorite products in agriculture, glyphosate, and the development out in California. The state has been attempting to label the product as a carcinogenic for the last couple of years under Proposition 65. But we found out this week that Monsanto's been fighting that, of course, but the California Appellate Court has agreed with the state that it can be labeled. So, Paul, going forward, glyphosate will actually have a little restrictive label on it in the state of California.
Well, it's a lot of products like that out there, and I know when I've been to California, you go through and look at some of the labels, and it will scare the bejeebers out of you.
Yeah.
Some of this stuff that we use, and could be this and could be that.
And again, it could get lost in like you say, in the background, because there's so many products in California that do carry some type of warning label on them that this might just be another in a laundry list. So
yeah, who knows?
We will see. And then I have a quiz for you, Paul. Softball.
You know how I love these quizzes.
I know. A softball question. What is this?
It is not a Coke.
It is not a Coke.
I think it's a bottle of water.
Yes, a bottled water. And you may or may not know, of course, that the bottle this is made out of a petroleum-based material called PET, which beverage producers have been using for soft drinks and bottled water since the 1970s. But we found out this week that our friends at ADM and DowDuPont have gotten together and now have come up with a corn-based plastic, a bioplastic, which they're hoping to introduce into the market in the next couple of years, called FDME. Supposedly it's 15 times stronger than any of the PET materials, so that in theory producers using it can use less of it, which would be better, of course, for the marketplace and when it comes to recycling and not filling up landfills, et cetera, and so on. But like I say, Paul, right now they're looking at putting up a processing plant for this new material somewhere closely, maybe Decatur, where they're based, or maybe another location. But in a few years, Paul, we may have to expand corn's moniker from feed, fiber, and fuel to include Fanta, perhaps.
Fanta? Well, that's a throwback.
I'm trying to go with an F sound. Coke and Pepsi didn't quite work, but yeah, okay. Fanta, Fresca, if you so choose.
Fresca, now I'm down with Fresca.
All right, so yeah, we may be seeing that in a couple of years. So,
awesome.
Quiz passed.
Well, thank you. Thanks for making it so easy. Whatever happened? Whatever happened to? Did they still make those soybean packing peanuts? Do you know?
I honestly don't know. We'll have to look into that for a next episode, perhaps.
I used to love to just take those things and dump them in a bucket of water and make a big slurry out of it. No, it's like, it was such a great idea.
Chemistry by Paul. There you go.
Takes a little to entertain me. It really does. Well, thanks very much for joining us on this edition of Crop Life Retail Week, and we'll see you next week.